line is walking across the screen, slowly getting there. A bit of musical interlude, and we are live.
And
Hello,
and it's live, as Martin Tyler would shout ridiculously. He needs to stop that.
So what do we reckon with that then?
Let's. I find that frustrating. I have to. Frustrating is the most overwhelming sensation. It kind of encapsulates in many ways our season in one game. I do see. I see positives in the younger players, and I see kind of why is that player still almost being. It's like watching. I had a cat which was literally on its last legs, and it's like watching this cat die in front of your eyes, and you know you're going to wake up and go downstairs and find it dead, but you don't take it to the vets to be put down humanely. You just watch it continuously go on until the end, until there's nothing
because
left.
You don't want it to die. So,
yeah,
so you watch it.
Yeah. So you can't face the reality that something or someone or some philosophy you had just has gone. It's not there anymore. It's never going to come back in the way you want it. But the other positives in the meantime, you're kind of trampling over because you can't let go of the past. And I kind of feel, on the one hand, really positive about the future. But my nagging mind is, if you can't see and let go of things, there is no hope. And I don't know which way to go. I want to believe in hope. And I thought, I'll use Morgan Gibbs-White as a good example. I thought every game I see him in, I think he gets better. And I look for that in young players. It's like when Fabio came, he's not strong enough, he's got no touch. I thought today as well, every game I see, I can see them develop and get better. And I think that's great. But then you can see other players declining because they're physically or the way we're playing just doesn't suit them anymore. And you think, well, why are you continually playing that player? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And I just felt that game kind of encapsulated that kind of juxtapositioning of hope and despair perfectly for me. I mean, I just don't, it's about make the right additions, and I think great, there's so many positives there. But if you persist in a philosophy which does not play to the strengths we have, we're doomed. I mean, I just don't know which way to go. I want to believe in hope always, but I think we all know. You could ask everybody on the mix what the problem is. It's just whether we implement the plan. That to me, that most people can see. And I think I'll shut up now because I'm.
No, I see the point. I mean, the other thing to that is as well is that if the right players come in and the formation seems right, that also because now you have those players to implement a probably a more offensive way of playing, you actually then trust and back that idea and not try and play a hybrid, because playing the hybrid of two things is the problem. It's trying to, and when I think we've done that all season, where we've tried to play the more expansive possession type football, but retain the formation of the counter-attack. So that means it doesn't really work. And then when we play the formation that isn't the counter-attack type of way, we then try and play the defensive, slower counter-attack kind of play. You know what I mean? It's kind of never the correct two things at the same time. And they then work against each other instead of working for you.
You're kind of getting the worst of both. It's a bit like hybrid cars. I remember thinking, I want an electric car. So I go out to test drive a hybrid car, drive it on electric, think, that's interesting. Then I test drive an all-electric and I think, well, is a hybrid the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds? And ultimately, it comes down to it's the worst of both worlds if you can have a petrol car as a backup. And I kind of feel that's where we are. We're almost, we've got that really small battery and not very big fuel tank, and neither work. You'd be better off with one or the other. That's where I think we are. And because of that, I kind of, in my heart, there's an immense positivity. And I can understand why fans are very negative, because it's been a long, hard season. And I'm sure it has for the players. And the positive, I mean, for me, the young players and the way they've stepped up in the Premier League, which is undoubtedly the hardest and best league in the world. Undoubtedly. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Rafa Mir, which we've spoken about before. And people are saying, well, would he survive in the Premier League? Because that's how tough it is.
That's a £64,000 question for another day.
Well, it is and it isn't, because the point remains the same. The Premier League is tough. It's a technically good league, and it's a very physical league. So if you're surviving and performing at this kind of level, you are a good player. And I mean surviving, I don't mean like looking it up. And if you're 18 or 19 or 20 and you're doing that, you are a very good player. And I think our fans would do very well to remember that you've got to be realistic about age, experience, physical development, and progression. So I'm positive on that front. But like you've said there, if we put the right mix in bod, the right players, it feels good. It feels like there's something there. Because I didn't feel we were outclassed. I just felt it was just the same old.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I was disappointed to see us go to 3 at the back again. And it wasn't until late on in the second half that we decided to take volley off and then play 4 at the back. And it's like, well, we know what happens with 3 at the back. I suppose you could try and, but if you are going to do it, then if you are going to still, if the plan is in certain games to go 3 at the back, okay, I understand it. But then if we're going to do that, and essentially this is the pre-season for me now, then use it as a pre-season. And if we're going to play 3 at the back today, play 3 at the back with a lot of young players in there and see how it works.
But it's
see
interesting.
How they play in that.
It is very interesting that first half with 3 at the back, we looked all right and looked I think fairly aggressive and wanting to go for it. And obviously it was unlucky that we just couldn't craft anything going forward. It was mainly Adama and Gib Morgan doing the work.
Yeah, but the reason we look good, Fabio was doing a metaphorically large amount of work, pulling left and right, and that left nobody in the middle because there's no driving midfielder to come through. So
that was the problem.
Yeah,
we had a striker playing midfield essentially, and then no striker.
Because we didn't have the player. I mean, I thought Gibbs White was providing some of that as well, but he needed support from either of Moutinho and Neves, both of which are not going to get back if they break. That's just the reality. Neves is a defensive midfielder. There's a hilarious comment on the forum. Neves is not a defensive midfielder. Yes, he effing is. That's what he's been all his career. I just don't.
He really is. And he's a good defensive midfielder.
Yes,
he's a genuinely good defensive midfielder.
And that's why you can play 4 at the back, because Neves drops into that kind of almost inverted sweeper role. I just don't get. I mean, people don't seem to look at what they want people to be, something they want them to be, rather than what they are. Like they want Silva to be a strapping 6'3", somebody who's actually 24 at 18. He's 18. He is what he is. And I think that's why you're right, Cass. You can see all the parts are there, except the missing parts. And we can all see what they are.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was disappointed about how they placed. It was a strange formation in that you'd got Silva seemingly to be wide most of the time, and then even when Jose came on, one of them was always wide, and I'm like, well, that's
they had to be to support the wing backs. They had to be.
Just move the team around a bit. Yeah. That's the thing for me. Move the team around a bit to suit where they're playing. Just bringing on. Otherwise, there's no point in bringing them on, because if you're going to bring on someone like Jose, who's essentially going to sit around the middle somewhere, expecting him to then play as a wide left forward, well, you're not going to. What's the advantage of that?
There's none.
There's none at all. So you may as well have left the player on, unless they're in the red zone. I take it with fitness, but I'd wager they weren't.
See, the thing is, in an attack, if you've got two defenders sitting back because they're slow and they're not going to be able to counter a break, then you've got two midfielders who are your pivots. That's 4 players out. 4 players you've got out the game straight away. If you watch a lot of other teams, they risk those midfielders going forward and they occupy that space and force the defence to contract, which gives you width. We never do that. We never do that because we know those two midfielders are not. Once they're bypassed, the defenders, one of them will be taken out, and you're going to have to either make a foul or you're down to like what they used to call an American penalty, where they run at the goalkeeper and try and go past him. And until you address that, you're always going to be players short in attack, which means the passing it around bit is just rather pointless because, you and I could get on the pitch and shuffle from side to side with our, well, you play 5-a-side, I used to, but with my immobilities, I could shuffle from side to side because I know you're not going to come through the centre. I just have to occupy that space. I know you're not going to go to the centre. Look what Traore did when he went through the centre. Took 3 players out the game.
Mm.
Gibbs White tried to do that a bit. Vitinha tries to do that. I just, it's so close. You just feel it's so close. That's what's so frustrating about that game. I mean, Everton, where are they? 7th, 8th now?
I think they're 7th. Let me double check the table just out of curiosity.
I don't think they're hugely better than us.
I'll be honest. I don't think they are at all. To be honest,
no.
On that going anyway.
Yeah, as Everton are in 8th, they are a point. They're on level on points with Spurs, but and a point behind West Ham. So they're very much in the race for 6th. But they are 17 goals behind Spurs. It's very much a very, very tight race between 6th and 10th. Even Leeds could still theoretically get Europe, even if that's a bit impossible.
I hope they get the conference.
But it is 2 points separating 6th and 9th between West Ham.
The new footballing curse, mate. You get the European Conference.
Yes, indeed.
I think game wise, I think you put, as you said, Cass, I kind of enjoyed the first half, but you kind of felt not really going to, we're not really going to score. I thought there were some good performances, but overall, you just kind of felt if we can't score and we can't fashion chances, we're not going to win the game.
Can I just interrupt with some fairly significant news? Just looking at BBC Sport, and in terms of Raul, they asked him in his post-game interview, which, by the way, he said first half was good, changed the game, dominant, very good. We did a lot of good. Bad, the focus and concentration on the set piece. Bang on that one. He said we're trying to build the platform philosophy. Best thing is that we have the fans back again, but you can feel them. We have our own fans, and that's the way to finish the hard, difficult season. On Raul, a field feature, it says, and I quote, "The club will release a statement detailing the situation, but unfortunately, Raul will not be able to join us for the last game. All the squad, Pedro, Johnny, all the squad will be there. We will stick the season together. The last day for us to get together. It was a difficult season for everybody." And also being asked, are you confident he will return? He said, "I'm sure he will. We miss him. Football will be very glad when Raul returns to the pitch." I personally think that is for the greater good, knowing his head and his skull. But that's a small shame. But what can we do?
Well, as we said before, it has to go on the medical advice. It's just not negotiable. You just hope from that it's the statement is, let's look forward to next season type thing, rather than we're grateful for our contribution type announcements. We just have to wait. I mean, we have no. It's wrong to speculate about somebody's health in that way. We do miss Raul. I mean, we absolutely miss Raul. There's no doubt about that. We miss Pedro. We miss Johnny, and I pause that because I do think Nori has a lot of potential, but we do miss Johnny. He is a great player, but there can't be excuses, because I do think when we build, you've got to build a team, and you've got to expect injuries, suspensions, unavailabilities. So you do need options. I'm an exponent of small squad, high quality, but that's got to be in the bounds that you can put 11 players out. It's got to be. So it is a kind of worrying statement, Cass. But Cash, I just don't know what to say there.
We'll see what the club obviously has to say, saying it will detailing the situation. Who knows? It may be longer than what people thought. Palace have levelled it against Arsenal.
Fantastic.
But yes, but it's a shame. But what can we do? And ultimately, it's for everything. Everyone's greater good with obviously such a bad injury that occurred. But just on about, I suppose to say that first bit of the statement in terms of the game. Say the first half. The first half, just giving my usual post-match blabber. I think the first half, we were intense. We looked good going forward, able to get ourselves in good positions. Many corners. We absolutely had them on the ropes for much of the first half with much possession and so forth. Indeed. And I say Morgan produced that cracking shot, which was also very, very nicely saved by Mr. Pickford. The fact he had to force him into that is a positive. And then obviously it was a set piece which completely buggered us up. Highly unacceptable, quite frankly, for Willie not to jump above and climb above Richarlison in the way that he usually would. He's so much stronger. He's so much bigger than Richarlison, for goodness sake. Why not get above him? You've got the strength. You've got the height. Bloody well use it in such a situation. And then obviously just not being able to create anything up front as well it was the pain in the backside as well tonight, knowing that we were able to come forward, but we just couldn't click. It's very much a case of we are once everything pulls together, it will work, but it just won't. It just isn't. And thank God the season ends on Friday. On Sunday.
Yeah, my nagging doubt genuinely is that we're that close that even if we fix those problems, and as I said just now, if we fix those problems, that's great. But we've got to then trust in those fixes and actually change. Actually change, not just change a few formations around. Change the mentality. You've got to change that mentality and. Trust the players on the pitch to be able to defend. The fear of losing a goal is from open play. This seems to be because set pieces we've been absolutely god awful for quite a few games now. When we used to be so strong. So I don't know what's happened there.
Yeah.
So what I find strange is we trust ourselves on set pieces, which we've been quite poor at. But then in open play where we've been playing. Well, I think probably a little bit better in recent games.
Yeah, I'd agree.
We're not trusting ourselves to go forward as a team, and I don't think we've looked tragically bad at the back. To be honest, I felt if we all moved as a team backwards and forwards. I know it's hard. We haven't got lots of pace at the back. I appreciate that, but even so, we just let us a little bit, just a little bit. It only needs a little bit. It really does. Actually believe that you're allowed to go forward. Or if you're not quite sure how to do that, get a coach in who specialises in attacking play. And attacking set pieces and attacking format. Because it looks, we all seem to, and then we've always looked this way, of a team that is beautifully set up, very, very organised, defending, and without the ball. And then when we go forward, it's kind of a bit of a, well, you three players are up the top. Off you go, do your thing. And then there's no real structure to it. Which is why then when we come up against a team, which is great and fine in a counter-attack where you've got to use, quick thinking and do what comes naturally. But when we come up to these teams who sit, we can't break them down because they don't know how to. They're like, well, I can't do the quick thinking because this team is sat in it, which is where the sort of more attacking set piece and attacking pattern and some that sort of thing starts to come into play. I would think. I don't know. I'm not a bloody coach, but
I know exactly
that's what I
you
think.
mean.
Anyway.
It's similar to what I said. I think if you got the ball and you're in that pressing zone of the final third, the players defending are focused on who's got the ball, where you can pass it. As soon as you pass it back, they stop focusing on that and look at position and then drift across. If you watch Man City, they don't do that. If you watch Liverpool, they look to play the ball into feet around the box. They accept they'll lose it.
Yeah.
But the pressure that puts on is put the ball in, and we saw that a bit in the first half, I think. You put the ball in, you look to drive into the box. When Adama went past two players, if he had tried something like to cut across a player and maybe get nicked, maybe he makes it across and he's in the centre of the goal. Well, the end, even if he gets nicked and no penalty, or he just hits it and he goes out for a throw, the end result is exactly the same as what we got. You know, so don't play the percentages more than I need to get a shot off to get the stat in. Play the percentages.
That's a good point, because that's something that I noticed that Gibbs White was doing off the corners.
Exactly.
He wasn't on the corners, it was coming out and he was driving a shot into the middle of the area. Now, that I'm fine with that, because as long as they keep it on target, you know, keep that shot on target. Doesn't have to be a great shot, but that causes utter chaos and can go anywhere. The amount of times where it's come out there and then we've gone backwards and sideways and backwards and everyone gets back into position and everything, and we're back and you're like, oh, right, okay. And we've done, or it gets intercepted when it's been pissed around around the outside.
Which is inexcusable.
Yeah,
that's
which
inexcusable.
But it happens,
that's your
and then
philosophy.
you have a break. Yeah,
exactly. One is more. If you watch when a team plays that kind of football, they immediately press because they know that will force a safety ball, and then you can come back and go again. Yeah, you got
I don't mind if Gibbs White's there. I don't mind if Neves is there. Even with Neves' shooting that's gone off the boil, I don't care if he puts a shot in, as long as it doesn't go blazing over the bar. Keep it down. I'm happy, because it's off a set piece. It's off a corner. You've still got centre halves in there. You've got a lot of players in the box at that point. So anything could happen. It could ricochet off someone, or like Rich said, it'll go out for a corner. There you go. We've got another chance.
Corners.
Well, yes. Well, that's a lovely segue onto the subject of set pieces in general.
What is the point of having them?
I am going to say it is lazy-mindedness by the players taking the thing, because to not clear the first man once, okay, you'll get it. You might not quite get it right, and you're just trying to do something. To continually kick after kick after kick to barely clear the first man is inexcusable. You're a bloody top-level professional player. You should be able to put a ball into the box. If the keeper comes out and gets it, or a defender heads it away, fine. That is fine, because that's going to happen. But my God, to not even get past the first man. I mean, some of them just were like, there was balls stubbed into the ground and also, and it's like, it barely makes it to the first one. It's just like, I don't get that. I just don't get that. It's just, for me, that's not concentrating. And it's not, that's just poor. You've got to be better. Sorry?
Do they train at it? I mean,
you'd think you would.
I mean, maybe they need to, there's little like man silhouettes they use. Maybe they need them to be bigger. Maybe they bought them off eBay and they're only 5'6".
Maybe making 7 foot. Maybe making 7'4".
Yeah. You look at it and think, is there an easy solution to this? Is there something we're not missing here? Do they use the same ball they play the game with? And
the other thing is, why is it? It seems to have been of late. If it does clear the front man, then it's a floated ball.
Yeah, there's no base on it.
And you're like, well, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Whip the ball in. We used to do it.
On a serious note, if they train with Rui, who doesn't really come off his line, that might work in training.
Yeah.
But when you have a goalkeeper who thinks, oh, a slow floated ball, I've got arms, I'm 6'4", and I can jump. Let me think about this. Slow floating ball, I'm 6'3", and I can jump and I can handle the ball. What's going to happen? I can't work this one out.
Well, I was say you've also got that much time to actually think about it as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the sad thing. And you know, you do wonder.
And I'll be honest. And then my third example of set pieces is the long floated ball that goes too far. Which it goes too far. I accept that you've overhit it. That's fine. But then no Wolves player is anywhere near picking it up yet.
Yeah.
Now they've had the Everton defence has had just as long to watch that ball float over like that, and yet they get to it way quicker than any of our players. And the Everton players have got the ball. We usually got their back to the goal, so they're not necessarily facing the right way. The Wolves play. Why is there not someone on there? It's like it's as if the Wolves players have already turned around and started jogging back to the halfway line.
Yeah.
And just there seems to be a kind of just a complete fog when it comes to attacking play. If it's not a quick, natural, no time to think break, or you're giving it to Adama to basically beat everybody from the halfway line, there's pretty much nothing in the
You can understand why he would be immensely pissed off. Because if he plays in any team with attacking intent as an option, as opposed to the only option, his game's completely different.
Yeah. He might like it, though, because he gets more of the ball. Because he'll be the focus. Because
he also gets flattered all the time.
I mean, today that leads me on to the ref, who was... I don't know. I mean, they may as well just got some baseball bats and just gone over and done him over, because the ref wouldn't have done anything about it.
Honestly, if I was still on Twitter and if I hadn't been banned because of my VAR rant back in November because of the Leicester penalty, then my word, I probably would have been banned within 5 seconds of what I probably would have put out. That was the most blatant handball in living memory.
Well, you see, I wasn't going to go on to
outrageous.
The penalty, I was like, well, personally, in my old school thinking, that wouldn't have been a penalty because he never meant that. There's no way. However, under the way the rules have been recently, that's a penalty all day. So I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand how that goes back to VAR, and under the rules that they've been playing recently. Unless the rules have changed again, I don't know.
But they can't change mid-season because it's then inconsistent and unfair.
Well,
it was the most clear hit of the arm of the hand in living memory.
It was a palm away. I mean, it's because he was like that. I've got no issue with that. And really, under the rules, you shouldn't be giving them as penalties anyway. But
I agree.
As the rules as they are, that's a penalty. There's no doubt. If they can, there's no way that they can watch that and say that did not hit the bloody.
It's a penalty in a month of. It's a penalty in a week. It's a penalty in a month of Sundays. See,
under the current rules, yes, as I understand them. Again, I'm quite happy.
It was a clear smack off the hand. Yes, it may not have got it out of the way in time, but still, it clearly hit the hand. It should therefore be an offence and a penalty and at least a yellow card.
However,
I don't think it's a yellow.
Maybe not hard, but still.
I do remember someone saying though that the interpretation of these got changed around Christmas time, as I understood. So I don't know.
No one knows.
They have changed. They did change in mid-season, and it was after one of our incidents, one of those weekends. But that's not right. You know, you basically VAR is a catastrophic disaster for football. It destroys the experience of the fans. Destroying the experience of the fans destroys the game, as we've seen in the last year. It's inconsistent, so it doesn't give consistency. It's open to interpretation. It's not open about what the technology is. It's a catastrophe. It's
a system that it could be used well, but is used terribly.
It's the biggest clusterfudge that we've seen in British football in a generation, quite frankly.
Well,
I do not understand why it's been interpreted in such a way. It could be, as was shown in the 2018 World Cup, the UEFA used it brilliantly. They use it pretty damn well within the Champions League as well, because they legitimately and seemingly understand the system. We just don't have a clue. And it was further illustrated again tonight by a systematic failure of the referee to do its duty. And Pugmole needs reform, not just football as a whole, but Pugmole needs to be put on a bonfire and blown to shreds. With the way in which
you're not a fan,
the referee, the way in which the referees just aren't doing their job. I must say, I'm still surprised we've got 2 referees going to the Euros, for goodness sake. I'm very surprised. But bearing in mind just the inconsistency and the incoherence that have been displayed and being shown by the FA on and off the pitch. It's about, if that doesn't get dealt with within the football reform package, then we might as well give up and go home.
I kind of agree with that completely.
You see, I like the idea of VAR. I've got no issue with it. But as they said, when they come out and make a phrase, it's only to be used in clear and obvious circumstances. Where there's a clear mistake. So if it's not clear, so ruling offsides for an elbow hair or a handball where it's brushed millimeters below the shirt line or something like that, that's not clear and obvious. It's never been clear and obvious. It never will be.
Yeah, and I can live with the Everton decision today completely.
Yeah,
within those bounds. But I can't. But not when I see other ones given for less.
Absolutely, the same ones. It's the same ones where it's brushing off. It brushes down the side of their arm, and you're like,
that's the issue.
Absolutely no advantage gained. There's nothing in it at all. And then that's suddenly made. And then they take nearly 2 minutes to come to a decision of whether. If you've got to take 2 minutes to make a decision on something, it's not clear and fucking obvious, is it?
Yeah,
you have to draw lines. It's not clear and obvious.
No, it's not. So
if you're in the stadium, and I think at the FA Cup final, I did see something shown on the screen.
They always show it inside the stadium. So, was you at Man City at home in 2019, December 2019? I don't know, but they showed the picture of the replay on the board on the big screens. Once the decision had been made, they always do that. They don't show the actual in-play footage as they do on the TV, but they then show a grab of the decision after. And let me just say, that night Molineux was probably about to self-destruct with the way in which obviously that Raheem Sterling penalty was given. But yeah,
I must admit, I can't remember seeing many of those in the stadium. So it might be so long.
There's occasional, there's occasional, but usually you usually just get the screen saying the decision and nothing else.
But they do at the very end show a replay or a screenshot of why the decision was made and the supposed quote unquote quote evidence unquote. So yeah, that was the case.
I'm probably swearing too much by then, Cass.
yes. As I say, the Man City game in December 2019, it sounded like Molly was just literally about to go collectively go bleep 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 bleep. Literally, I don't know. Anyway, I know it's 20 to 9 already, and I need to take my dogs up in like 20 minutes. So, man of the match, if we can think of one.
Go for it, Cash. Who's your man of the match?
Oh, give me a bit more thinking.
Rich, who is your man of the match?
I'm tempted to go for Traore simply because he drove forward. But then again, yeah, I'm going to have to just say Traore. I just can't think of anybody else. Could give it to Ruddy for actually occasionally coming out and grabbing something. So,
If that's John's last game, then not a bad one to go out on.
I feel sorry for him. I think he's better than just sitting on the bench all the time. It depends what he wants out of life, really.
Yeah.
But he did come out making himself big, actually, and did get the ball, and did get the ball quite well. I would probably also go with, in very short thinking, Adama as well with the way in which he just caused havoc in that first half, particularly. And so him coming forward, and again, that shot was the slightly annoying thing because he got into such a great position, and then the shot was tamer than the shrew. But there we are. But at least he's able to create those, by force of will, getting into those positions by his majestic running and his just sheer pace. And at least it looks like he's going to be signing another extension, which is fantastic.
Does it?
Yes, that's what I think Tim Spears from The Athletic has mentioned, which is good. But I think the sooner we tie him down, as well as then focus on the centre mid and the centre backs, as he suggested, the better. But I think Adama definitely tonight, and so I think other shout out, honourable mention would have obviously go to John, because did his job and goal all right, and if it is the case that's his last game, then good luck to the guy, because he's what a servant to the club in these last 4 years, particularly obviously in that season 3 years ago. Goodness me, it was almost 3 years and 12 days ago since we were all partying in West Park, and then obviously went to that more intimate thing at the Thingy House or whatever it was, and everybody even the players singing the Liquidator.
Was that the end of the season, too?
My man of the match. Well, I was in two minds because I actually thought Semedo played well again, really well. To be honest, he was one of the players driving and looked the level above that he is. To be honest, because he's still playing at a level above that some of them seem to have dropped a bit. But no, it's Traore, because he was easily the best player on the pitch for me. Easily, by a long way. And to be honest, I wanted the ref to have a word with some of the Everton players, because some of the challenges that he actually jumped out the way of were leg breakers. They were just late. They were so late that one of them.
You don't have to make contact to give a foul.
No, well, that was my thoughts. They were dangerous late. In fact, one's just slid past my window. It's that late.
Yeah. But it's just the standard of refereeing again. Yeah. You know, it's ex-players saying, well, there's no contact. Contact is irrelevant to whether it's a foul.
If someone walked on there with a gun and shot at him and missed, does that mean you don't arrest him? It's not because he didn't. It's like stupid. And they were some of those challenges were just terrible late. I mean, in fact, it's the run. It was the run through when he had that shot where it didn't quite come off. At the beginning of that run, he jumped past two, and one guy came howling across and slid all the way across, completely missed him. And I'm like, and the ref turned and looked at the player who did that, and then carried on. And I'm like, you should be going back and telling him that's not sorry, but that's
well. Here's the thing, though: if he has to take evasive action to avoid being clattered, what impact does that have further down the pitch? Is a half metre off making the shot?
Absolutely.
I mean,
what's he got to do? Stand there and have his legs broken to get a foul? I mean, you can't. It staggers me that he gets no protection at all. I mean, literally no protection. Well, because he's got some big biceps. So suddenly he's allowed to have people try and break his legs. It's idiotic. The thinking is stupid.
It is madness. It is absolute madness. It's his strength, for God's sake, which is able to take him forward, like Usain Bolt earlier on. He's just incredible with the ball, and obviously that's where others need to get around him.
Well, he's got good pace. He's got good pace, and he's got very good close control. It's not just pace. It's not just pace to burn. You don't run through players like that with no good good control. The sort of players with pace who usually who are on the wing push it past and then run after it. And now, yes, he does do that sometimes, but there's the amount when he runs through the middle, he's not pushing it past and he's skipping through them and he's avoiding some diabolical challenges that are that late. And to be honest, some of them are that late. That's why they miss. But they shouldn't be going in. I mean, they just shouldn't be going. They're high and they're high-footed and low to the ground, which is a basic career. They're like career-ending tackles. I wouldn't have been surprised. I genuinely wouldn't have been surprised.
By the way, oh well, that's loud. But SofaScore have tweeted that he's just become the second player in the top 5 leagues after Messi to get 150 dribbles this season, and he's reached that number for a second season on the bounce. So you know, even if some people still slag him off and think we should cash in, come on.
I can't cash in. This is the worst. This is the bit that makes no sense. If you're going to cash in on a player and he's worth, we'll cash in for £100 million. Then if he's worth £100 million, why on earth do you want to get rid of him? If he's worth that much, he's got to be that good. Utilise him correctly. He draws 2-3 players across. Make use of that space. It's really, really straightforward in my mind. And no, do not cash in on someone who is that good. Build a team.
Unless you have better options, cheaper, that somehow nobody else knows about.
Yes.
Or the player, like Harry Kane, said, I want to go and win things.
Well, if he wants to
said,
move,
I'm
that's
not
a whole
signing
different
a
story.
new contract and I want to leave. So there are reasons. But again, it comes down to the fact I don't really like Traore, and I acknowledge he's a good player, so people think he's worth this, but I don't value him. That's what it comes down to. I don't value him. Says it all, really. I mean, the only player you literally get out your seat, don't you? You start edging forward to the edge of your seat. I mean, otherwise, what would have more passing sideways, down the wing, back to the defenders?
So
if that gets you out your seat, fine. If that floats your boat, absolutely fine, mate. You know,
I don't get it. It's also like, we will have Neto. You think Neto will have as much opportunity without Traore on the pitch? No, because they'll be
in the same position.
They'll be in exactly the same position, but not without strength, because you'll have 2-3 players on him. So we won't have the space. You put both of them on, that's hard for an opposition team to deal with. You get Jimenez back and playing anywhere near what his best, and you've got those 3 running at a defence, and then you can take the breaks, and let the brakes off a little. My God, there's a team who's going to score some goals.
Well, this is the point, isn't it? I mean, the question is why. I mean, maybe it was a tiredness factor early in the season, but when you think of what the players who are here are doing without those other players, that's why I feel kind of positive. Like I say, I think Morgan Gibbs-White, every game he gets a bit better. You can't expect anything more. He's not going to suddenly turn into Kevin De Bruyne overnight. I mean, let's say he did. He's going to do it over 6 years with small improvements.
Yeah.
That's the reality of younger players. What's the ceiling? I don't know, but it's a lot higher than where he is now. I know that. And he's playing in the Premier League and not being disgraced now. This is what I can't get my head around. Do you honestly think he's not going to get any better in the next 4 or 5 years? Do you honestly think that?
He's
what
certainly not going to get worse. He's not going to get worse. He's at this level now. He might not get any better, but he's not going to get worse.
Exactly.
Who?
Gibbs-White or Fabio or Ednori or Vitinha. Any of them.
They're already at.
As I say, the youngsters in these last several games have been good. Which is why I hope very much the supposed reports which Tim Spears has said are false in terms of Vitinha coming. I do hope that Wall's getting in. Get in Vitinha, get in Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri tonight making very good runs.
Very intelligent player. Often crossing.
Get them in as soon as possible. I don't care what some think. They're young, they're raw, they have immense ability. get them sorted, get them signed, on the deadline by July the 1st. No ifs, no buts. And I think Nuno probably knows that already, and I suspect the club will hopefully exercise quite quickly to get that sorted. I very much hope.
We've got one more game left, haven't we?
Indeed, indeed we do. And it's by the way, Wolves is under 23s, I think it was, or whatever it was, sadly lost in the Premier League 2 Division 2 playoff semi-final, I think it was, or something like that, against Crystal Palace. But bad luck, they'll be back at it next season, no doubt, and still much improved campaign on the last couple. So fingers crossed going forward.
Well, I hope in the next game that we go back to a 4 again, and then persist with them, try and play something a bit more expansive. I don't care if Man United, Man United have got a good attacking side. I know this. I don't care. I'd still rather see them try and progress.
Indeed, no idea what TV channel is going to be on, by the way, but that will probably be announced tomorrow.
Let's see where we are. Let's go up against attacking. Here's the thing. Let's go up against an attacking team and play our 4 in a slightly more adventurous way, a bit more, just a bit further up the pitch. And if we lose, we lose. But we can learn from that of where we need to strengthen in a competitive game, rather than trying to work it out over the summer with a couple of friendlies here and there and some training. Let's see let's clearly see in a game against a good attacking side, not a defensive one, and one that's going to put us on the back foot, who are clearly good at attacking because they've got a lot of good attacking players. They're not second in the league for nothing. Are they still second?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do that. What is there to gain by us playing 3 at the back and trying to soak up pressure? We know how that ends. It's like it's nothing new. It's nothing. There's going to be no surprises with what might happen.
It's a dead rubber game as well, because Man United are secured second.
Or if we are going to do that 3 at the back, then play all young players and see how they fit into it. Because I don't see the point of playing the same players.
Well, the only reason is, let's say it's Moutinho's last game or Ruddy's last game.
Yeah, I'll bring them on near the end.
But then you bring them on at the end, don't you?
Yeah.
And you make that statement almost. You made that statement. I don't see what we're going to learn by playing the older players in this game. I think you're right. It's not going to tell you anything.
In a 3, when we're potentially going to change to a 4, it's just get that team out, see what they can do, and say to them, go and show us what you can do in this position. I mean, if you really want to be mean about it, say go and play in this position and see whether you're actually worth your place next season. I mean, that's harsh, but if that's, I don't know, because I don't know them personally. I don't know how they react to that. Some people react to that well. Some people really don't. So.
That's
but that's you only know that when you're spending the time with them. So
indeed. Score predictions done. At least finally we've got fans back in the stadium, regardless of obviously all the debates in terms of tickets and priority groups and whatever else. But at least finally we'll have some fans and bums back on seats, which I have a sneaky feeling may help us, even if obviously the season has been very much just Ronan Keating once sung a roller coaster, and you've just got to ride it. I think our fans will help. I hope everybody who goes has an absolute brilliant time. Fingers crossed it means come August we can have as full as Molineux as possible. Seeing that I had an email from Silverstone ahead of the Grand Prix earlier that we're having e-tickets makes it sound rather good. That fans will be massive numbers down for the Grand Prix, which I'm tempted to take a Wolves flag of some kind. But in terms of Man United, if we can do our thing, and I think with people having, say, bums on seats and Molineux for the first time this season, I think that will give everybody a massive lift, a massive boost. Man United got nothing to play for. They're guaranteed to come a second. I think we will sneak another famous 1-0 win. I don't know how. And everybody will feel quite happy and content. No idea who'll score, but maybe there'll be an absolute thundercracker from Neves to silence all of the critics. No, he hasn't scored one since last February.
What are you smoking? I'm going to go for a 1-0. 1-1, sorry, 1-1. We're going to sneak a recovery goal. Who is going to score it? William Jose will score it to say goodbye.
Well, I predict a barnstorming game. Barnstorming. With a 6-5 scoreline. We're going to play and it'll be 4 goals from Silva to silence whoever said that we on the forum about having the 3rd lowest top scorer or something, just to ruin that stat. He's going to come. He's going to come out. He's going to get 4 goals, and then one from Neves, I think, and then I don't know which way it will go. I don't know. I can honestly say I can't predict. I can predict all the rest, but I cannot predict which way, who will win, get the 6th goal. Yeah, a bit like the Rotherham game all those years ago.
Hang on a minute.
Thoroughly entertaining, end to end, absolute barnstormer. And then everyone will wish they'd watched.
I hope so.
I hope so. Well, I kind of don't, because I didn't get a ticket. So that was mainly because I'm an idiot and missed the times.
Missed the ballot.
Were you in group 3?
Yeah, I was in group 3.
No.
And I didn't realise. I was like, I was kind of tied up with work, and then lunchtime I thought, oh shit, ticket, and it was too late. I was like, oh.
Oh, it happens. But it means we can have one more time on this Sunday.
You would think, in this day and age where people do actually do work occasionally, that it wouldn't be 10 o'clock when the pensioners wake up. You do it maybe at 6 or 7 o'clock, where the majority, and I appreciate people work late hours, maybe have a chance in the evening of getting home to do it.
Well, actually, that's something else. I hope next season this 6 p.m. bloody kickoff stops as well in the week, because it's bloody ridiculous.
Please.
I mean,
I had to leave the office. I had to sneak out. I had to quietly, discreetly leave the office at 10 to 5 this afternoon to get back in time for kickoff.
That can't continue to next season.
Total
it's absolutely
effing shambles. It's so annoying. It can't, because otherwise it's going to fleece the fan. And knowing that the Premier League's TV deal has rolled over from 2022 to 2025, by the way, if anyone didn't know, and they're going to get government permission formally, I think, in October, whenever it is. And very much, hopefully, we'll make
it can't be 6 o'clock.
Stop clamming for money, for God's sake. Anyway,
find a different time that works. But that does not work for anyone really who works.
Indeed, absolutely.
And with that,
yes, and with that,
we will be back on Sunday. No idea what channel the game is on. We'll see. It'll probably be
what
Sky.
Channel, what station?
It'll probably be Sky. It'll probably be Sky. I wouldn't be surprised. But
it'll be on somewhere.
It means obviously the very first season, which all top flight games have been shown in one season, which is quite an historic achievement, and I think could be something they should look at in the future. Quite frankly, knowing it must have helped the clubs a little bit with money.
I don't think that would be a good idea, to be perfectly honest.
Debate for another day, I suppose.
I would support it if, I don't think it's a good idea. I think that needs to be thought about. Maybe that's a discussion for a different time.
Alrighty.
I've got one last thing. If you drink at the Royal Oak on the Compton Road, apparently they only have capacity for 130 people outside. So please turn up early to avoid disappointment. That used to be my local, but it's not anymore because I don't.
Fair enough. Makes sense. On that, we will be back at around 6 o'clock on Sunday after United, and hopefully after that 6-5 barnstormer. That'll be very nice. And
we'll be after enjoying. Yes, after enjoying that. We'll see you then. So, thank you, everybody. See you all later.